jumping in, don't worry. Y'all can go back and watch from the beginning. I'm here with the one and only Lynx, who had a beautiful story to share. Wanted him to share it. Y'all, welcome to the Suzette Speak Show. I was going to put the chat to subscribers only. So you know what that means. Hit that subscribe button. Y'all come in lurking, as the British boys would say. But we want to make sure you become a part of the community. So hit the notification bell, like, and subscribe, and hit notifications. Y'all know I got some good shows coming up. Super chat is active. Hello, thanks to you guys. We over 3,000 now, and you guys know I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you guys for the Cash App support. Actually, let me check and see if anybody has sent any. But thank you so much. You guys know it's all love. So Lynx is in the middle of his story. I don't know, probably first third of his story, talking about his wife. And I'm just interested in that. This is like third time's the charm type thing. Because I think sometimes when people feel that type of like, that ain't working out, we say it's God. You understand?
Yeah.
When you feel like the ouch, you're like, okay, that's God. I'm not for that woman, or I'm not for that man. But it's something interesting about you still going after her in a way. I don't know what it was, but it's like, most men, I don't know, or women, rejection is not a fun thing. So we would typically be like, hey, that's a sign from God. But it was different from you. And I'm seeing how, obviously she played such a pivotal role in your life, especially at a hard moment, and was able to, with her faith foundation, hold you up and help you become or get to the other side. So all of that to say, was her heart open to you that third time?
No,
Beyond the faith, like I'm talking about as romance. So she was just there trying to save your soul. She was not there trying to hook up. She wasn't in your face like googly goo, googly eye. Come by Friday nighttime. None of that.
No.
Oh, okay.
She was still engaged to be married, and
hold up, I missed that. So she
was still engaged to be married. So
all this time while she was praying for you and pouring into you and trying to help you get saved.
Yes. She was still engaged to be married. So it was just I said what my motives were not her motives in the conversation. It was just, she had, I guess from her side, oh, this is somebody that I knew in Atlanta, we knew each other, and hey, we'll be friends type of a thing. But my motives were something different. And I said what she ended up being in my life at the time, in that darkness, she was joy and she was peace in my life at the time.
Wow. Okay, we're gonna step on some toes. Hold on. This is beautiful, but we got to step on some toes at the same time.
Okay.
Got people that said, where her man did they? Where was her man at this time? I'll she pray for you, give you encouragement and all of that. Where was her fiance?
Her fiance
was you in her face or what? That's we got to talk about it because it feels like some type of way. I'm bad. I'm happy that she lifted you up, but she was betrothed to another person.
Yes.
So it kind of feel a little
yeah.
So please explain that. Please explain what's going on right there.
She was engaged. So this was 92 now. This was 93. We reconnected. So she had been engaged now about 3 years. She moved to Atlanta. Her fiance was still in New York. So whatever was going on in their life, I didn't ask, but they were, they still were engaged. I don't know. I didn't ask about, if a date had been set or whatever. They were just engaged. And I said, my conversation with her, I was with one motive, and then it became a completely different, motive. As I said, and she became or she was at the time, she was peace and she was joy in my life, and brought me into a relationship with God that changed the trajectory of my life. As I said, and the I had, no real, as far as interaction with God, didn't have any interaction with God, prior. And that, this is gonna sound crazy, Suzette. I said I gave my heart to God the December 23rd, 1993, and it was wow, probably It was something real. It was real. As I said, I was in my bed and I cried because I was going through so much at the time. And I cried out. I cried out to God. I mean, I was in tears, and I just, all right, God, here you go. Here's my life. I'm here. It is. I give it to you. You know, save me. Whatever. I don't even know what I said, what I prayed, and that began a journey for me. My conversation now with her, you know, we still had conversations, but she was at going to a church in Atlanta. The church she was going to at the time was called Word of Faith in Atlanta, and I'm like, okay, I want to go to church. I was not my mindset completely shifted now from her to God. I was just you know, God, I want you. That was it. And not too long after that, I went through a series of experiences, supernatural experiences with God for like over a 3 night period that solidified the tangibleness of God, that solidified the, you know, God was real. Um and you know, I don't even know if I want to share the stories because they're so crazy. They're
Okay, hold
crazy.
on, hold on.
Yeah.
It's all right. It's all right because I
Yeah.
feel you. I feel you. So the love part of you. Let me ask you. Okay, so it sounds like you change your romantic intention from her? You were just dealing
Yes.
with the spiritual side of her
Yeah.
and looking for God and saw her as an example to get to God.
Yes.
Okay, so let's be clear,
Yes.
that the nature of their relationship changed in that moment. He
Shift.
went with
Yeah.
one reason, she came in, what they say, for a reason, a season, a different reason, and then you shifted. You were
Yep.
more so like, oh, there's something deeper here that I need to
Yep.
learn from this woman, not
Yep.
seeking another man's
Yeah.
stuff, but
Yep.
more so like my life needs a whole heavenly makeover. And
Yep.
that's where you were down at the bottom of your journey. Sometimes you meet men, it's hard. I can relate because I've met men where I can feel their energy and they almost want to be like, I wish you had met me at my top and not seen me at my bottom. But I'm always like, this is actually the real you. I can see how you
Mhm.
operate when you have nothing. I can see how you operate, when you're under pressure. But at the same time, them can't take you to eat, them can't take you out, them can't do nothing for you. So they feel bad and we going on free dates. But they're like, Sue, I want to be like, it's weird when you meet a guy at their bottom, guys. I don't know, ladies, if you can relate, but I don't reject them because I know that's not the end of their story. But obviously, if you're meeting somebody in a different part of their journey, it for him particularly, there's
Mhm.
a self-consciousness, there's a feeling of inadequacy. This is my experience. I'm not going to speak for every man.
Mhm.
Where I've seen like they feel like I'm rejecting them. I'm like, bro, I'm not rejecting them. I can, pay for the date or whatever it is. But I mean, you can't uh, necessarily bring your full self when you feel like you are, or when you truly are
Right.
broken or broke. You
Mhm.
understand? So
Yes.
sometimes
Yeah.
we have to do the work before we can catch back up to where that
Yeah.
person might be. And then, like you said, you meet back in the middle. So when did the energy start to shift? When did she break up with the fiance? And when did it now turn from a wonderful, separate from romance, Christian heart work of finding God for yourself, yielding your life to God, and starting a whole different ministry within yourself
Okay.
to I am stepping back into the frame of mind as this could possibly be a potential mate and she is available. When did that shift? So it's a beautiful thing that she helped you get your soul
Yeah.
space aligned. So there
Yeah.
was no
So.
romance there. There was none of that. That was more
Mhm.
like her purpose was to lead you to a higher level
Yeah.
in your spirit man. So when did it begin to evolve yet again and y'all tip back into, wow, I have romantic eros desires for you.
As I said, when she brought me, you know, when I got, you know, back to the Lord, and she brought me then, or I guess I shifted into even a new peer group. So my I still my best friend to this day for over 20 something years. It was a part of this peer group, uh, and his wife, and you know, some others. So I shifted into that peer group, and now here's where we move into what you heard, um, you know, that time, and just keep in mind, keep this in the back of your mind. My wife is still engaged. Okay, so I'm at work, and and I may have I may have misspoken. I said dream. It wasn't a dream. There's, God gives dreams and then he gives visions. I had a vision. I was fully conscious. I was awake. I
Okay.
was at work.
Mm.
Uh, I was at work. I was working as a teller at the time, and I was in a back room working on an ATM machine. And I was in a back room and filling up the ATM machine with money. I had probably about $80,000 of cash on the table behind me, and I'm in this room, and slowly the room fades out of my vision. I'm no longer seeing the room. The room is gone. So this is probably a 8 by 10 room that I'm in. And then the next thing you know, as I'm standing there, I'm fully conscious, fully awake. I am now, the room is faded away. And now I am standing in the balcony in the back of a church and looking down at the altar. And I see my wife, my now wife, I see her there in a wedding dress. And
Hold
I'm
on,
looking,
hold on, hold on. Thank
yes,
you. This is where we getting.
yes,
I'm ready, ready, ready. Okay, let
yeah.
me focus again. Reading the chat, but let me focus again. So welcome again, those are watching. Wonderful special guest today, Links. One of my awesome, fantastic subscribers has opened himself up with his story of how he was given, as he puts it, not dream, vision
Mm-hmm.
of his wife. So this is the juicy part. So you are in your office, as you said, or doing your job basically,
Mm-hmm.
lose track of present time and space,
Yes.
mind drawn, for lack of a better word, into another dimension, seeing, fully conscious, awake, if you will, not in a dream,
Mm-hmm.
not sleeping. I thought I was sleeping. No, awake, but in a different space and seeing this vision as you're describing it. And tell us
Yes.
again what it is that you saw. So you're
So
in a back room
I'm in
changing.
a
Tell
back.
us again what you're seeing.
Yeah, I'm in a back room. So literally, I've moved from the physical and the natural, and I'm now in a spiritual realm. I'm literally, what it felt like. It felt like, it looked like, it smelled like I was standing in my church at the time, Word of Faith Family Worship Center in East Point, standing in the balcony at the top in the balcony, and I'm looking down at the altar, and I see my now wife in a wedding dress.
Wow.
And keeping in mind, I had no language. I had never experienced this supernaturally before. As just backtracking, I told you when I had got saved, I had 3 nights of supernatural experiences that I'm like, okay, there is no way to explain what happened to me. Uh, those 3 nights, but I knew it was God. And if I
Hold on.
tell,
Let me just ask you. So had you
yes,
been, you said, was there any kind of like church revival going on, or was there any
no,
prayer or fasting going on before
no,
this, or anything that, some things prime your spirit? Was there
no.
any of that going on at all? No, this is just random. You had your regular relationship with God. You prayed in the morning, prayed in the evening, whatever, read your Bible, normal Christian, if you will, behavior. Nothing
Hmm.
special was going on around this time. I just want to set the scene because people will think, this was something just unique to you. So you're saying none of that happened, right?
No, no, nothing. Again, it was nothing out of the ordinary.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing I was praying. What I will say at that time, I was probably the most open to God that I had, that I
Oh,
had ever been. So
got it.
I was just, phew, I was open to God. I was so sensitive spiritually to different things, to different people, um, sense different things, all kind of stuff. So, but as I said, I was just doing a mundane task at work, and next thing you know, I'm not in that room anymore, and I'm in the church, and I'm looking at my wife standing at the altar,
Mm.
and there was no, I didn't hear anything, I didn't hear God speak to me, but it was without God saying, quote unquote, saying anything, it was communicated to me that was my wife. And when it happened and I came out of the vision, my very first words were no. I was like, no, because she was still engaged to be married to somebody else.
They
I'm like,
asking now. Was y'all at the same church? He was
same in
at the
church.
same church with you.
Yes.
You knew,
Yeah.
bro.
Yes. No, I no, I didn't know he was still in New York. He was still in New
Oh.
York. So we had
Mm.
just my wife. It was my wife, my best friend, and some others. We were part of a peer group. And so we would when I say we were going after God, we were going after God. We just wanted to know. We were some young kids, our early
Christian
20s, and
soldiers. I hear you.
yes,
Mm-hmm,
yeah,
mm-hmm.
we was on some fanatic stuff.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
when I say, yeah, we were praying, fasting, all kind of stuff. We were on some fanatic type stuff. And but yeah, when that happened, and I came out of the vision, I was like, no. I was like, God, no, because I wasn't thinking about marriage. I wasn't there. The concept of me even being in a relationship with her was gone. It was nah. She's engaged. I'm good. I'm not. I'm good. She's engaged. And then now, God, you showing me that she's to be my wife, and she's engaged. How that work? How that doesn't make any sense, God. That makes no sense to me. But
Somebody drop a comment, and if they've ever been given a vision and told or saw it and said no, drop a comment. I'm just curious because a lot of times we think things are unique to us, and I realize more and more as I live this life, so many people are experiencing similar things, but we never open up and we never share it. Has
mm,
anybody had that happen to them? So after the no, what happens? You go home, or sorry, you keep working, and you're thinking about this thing, or how long
yeah,
did that vision last? First and foremost,
you know what? I can't even put time
a
was
time
there.
frame.
There was
Okay,
time was gone. So it was there. I can't even
you
tell
just
you.
suspended. I
Yeah,
understand.
it was just there was no space and time were non-existent.
Huh.
So now after this, I'm like saying no, and I'm going on with my life, and I didn't say anything to my friends. I didn't say anything to my parents. Nobody. I said I
You
kept
didn't
this to
tell
myself.
nobody this happened.
Nobody. Didn't say this to anybody. And
Mm.
after that happened, that's when now I'm like, he's starting to stir. I'm like, yo, this is your this is your wife. This is your wife. This is the one. And I'm sitting here like still saying to myself, how you do this? She's engaged to be married. How's she gonna be my wife? And so it probably was about, maybe I probably didn't say anything for about 3 to 6 months. And I finally decided to say something to her. And here's the crazy part. We were, this is again, this friends group. The friends had started a singing group, out of this peer group. They started a singing group, and they were given a gig at the Atlanta wedding show. So there was a wedding show at the Georgia International Convention Center, and they were invited to come there and sing. And this was we were the whole crew. This was the Christian crew, and I'm just there tagging along. And we were there, and there was a wedding dress fashion show that was going on. Lights were dimmed, and women were modeling wedding dresses. All the different designers were there, and I leaned over to my now wife. I leaned over to her, and I told her, I said, I need to say something to you. And I said to her, God gave me a vision and showed me that you're going to be my wife. And before I even said that, I'm like, oh God, my butterflies. I was nervous as all get out. And I leaned over to her and I said this to her, and she turns back to me and says, I don't believe that's from God.
Wow.
And my heart sank again. So I'm thinking,
Pause. Pause.
yes,
Well, let me just digest with you. Thank you guys
yes.
for rocking with us. This is an interesting story, guys. I am just so many in between, like, whoa. All right. So prior to the vision, you had
Hmm.
never made a move on her. She had
Nope,
never made a move towards you. All
nope.
right. So my next question: if she have a fiance and He's in New York. Bro, you sleeping on your game, bro. You sleeping on your game. You put a ring on it, and either one of us gotta move, bro. Not no long period of time. I'm gonna have my girl down in Atlanta just out here looking. Okay, first and foremost, that's in my heart. I just had to say it out loud.
So
So interesting for me, you didn't tell
okay.
anybody because a lot of people say I've heard these things, I've dreamt these things. Thank y'all, chat, for chiming in and talking about dreams and visions you felt were God given. You didn't tell anybody. A lot of people say I've learned not to tell people because people not ready. Did
Hmm.
God tell
Hmm.
you it was time for you to tell her, or you just thought in your spirit, okay, it's time?
It was something in this. Again, I didn't have words to explain it, but it was just like, and I don't want to come with this Christianese, but there was like an unction. There was like,
Yeah,
it was time. I needed to say something. I couldn't shake, but I couldn't shake it. It was
feeling.
just like, it
Mm.
was time. So it was like the culmination of like, all right, I showed you something. Now you need to say it.
So
And
she slapped you with the no again,
slap
Brethren.
me
She
with the no
slapped you in
again. So
again with the yo, yo. That hurts. I'm hurt. I'm not you, and I'm hurt.
it
So
hurt.
was it a gentle no? It was like a hey, come out my face no. Like what kind of no was
It
that?
was it was
When
like,
she said it's not
no,
from
it was
God,
like,
what is
it
it?
was
What is it like?
it was a, I mean, my wife is, oh gosh, she's the most gentle, soft-spoken person, but when she means something, when she means something. And she said it gently, but it was a firm, gentle, I don't believe that's from God.
Oh wow.
And I'm like, and I'm sitting there, and I'm just, again, my heart was broken again, and I'm going back to God. I go back to God, and I'm like, God, you showed me this. You said this to me. How is it that you said this to me? I go open on my mouth and I say something, and then she, rejects me. I'm saying to myself, you know, I'm like, okay, I'm thinking to myself, okay, if you telling me to say this, you've probably prepared her. She's ready to say something. Nah, nah, kid, that wasn't happening. So I didn't say anything, and then here starts the confirmations that God would start to give to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we would, I said, we were the Christian crew, and there was a we started the crew had started Bible studies. So we would, go to each other's house and have Bible studies. And then some of the older folks in the church would hear about the stuff that would happen at the Bible studies. So they're like, okay, come on over to our house, whatever. So we would go over, we'd have Bible study at different folks' house. Again, this sound. I know it sounds so super spiritual.
No, it doesn't, because
You
I had
know,
a very deep spiritual phase in my early 20s. So I can relate to you.
yeah.
I was sold out for Jesus in a way that I don't even know if I could be close to God the way I was. I hear you on
Mhm.
this. So it's not super spiritual. Some
Yeah.
of us can very much relate.
Yeah.
But that was my experience. I didn't want to miss a church meeting. I didn't want to miss a choir rehearsal. I didn't want to miss a Wednesday prayer because I was afraid that I would miss what God was saying to me. That's
Yeah.
how deep I was
Hmm.
in Christianity,
Yeah.
particularly in my early to mid 20s. So I hear you. You're
Yeah.
not speaking out, especially of those raised 80s, 90s, maybe even early 2000s. The church played a pivotal role
Yeah.
for many of us, not all of us. So you're not, you're
Yeah.
not you're speaking to many of us who can relate. But go ahead. Mhm.
Yeah. So now, what happens is, God said, he said this, and I say something, and my wife says no, and then now he starts to have, I was hurt, broken. I'm praying, I'm like, God, you said this to me. Then again, I go through the phase of, you know what? Maybe I missed it. Maybe I missed it. Maybe I was wrong. I know I wasn't, I wasn't high. I wasn't smoking any blunts. I wasn't drinking. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I just missed it. And I met a young lady. I met a young lady, and a beautiful young lady, and again, talking, and I'm like, okay, maybe this may develop into something. And we became friends. I didn't put a like Mac on her, but we we became friends, and I invited her to our Bible study, and we ended up going to a Bible study at a friend's, that's one of the older couples' houses, with in a bunch of other older couples, and we're there, and my now wife was there, the peer group. This young lady is there that I came in with that night. Me and her came in together. My wife and came with her friends. They all came separately, and we had opened up with prayer at that Bible study, and went through the Bible study the entire night. And then one of the minister's wives, she came up to me afterwards, and she said, during prayer, I heard God say that she's going to be your wife. I'm like, huh? I'm thinking she was talking about the new girl that I brought with me. And I'm
Hold on.
like,
Who said this? This is another
this
lady at the Bible study?
this was another lady at the Bible study.
You had not
Again,
told her about the dream?
no, no.
And she just said to the group?
She's she said no. She came up to me afterwards, after prayer, after we had closed out with prayer, started with prayer. She said, in the midst of that, God spoke to her, and she said, "That's going to be your wife." And I had to clarify with her. I said, "Who are you talking about?
The girl I brought?
The girl I brought, or?" And she said it was my wife. And we were not there. We did not come together. We were not. They didn't see us together at church. We didn't sit together necessarily at church and whatever. So there was
Hold on.
no.
So tell me the age of
Yeah.
this person. Was this like a church mother? Was this like an elder? Was this a deaconess, pastor? Was this just a person y'all's age who happened to also be on this deep spiritual journey with you guys? Who was this?
This was at the time, this was an older, when I say, oh, we were in our 20s, this couple had to be in their late 30s, early 40s.
Okay, so kind of elder to you guys at the time.
Yes, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
wow.
So
And the wife said to you, God told me.
that is she's going to be your wife. So I'm sitting there like, okay, God. I'm like, okay, you're telling me this. If that's the case, I don't know how you're gonna make it work. And then after that, that's when God started doing His work.
Hold on now. We got some people in the chat got some questions. I'm moved.
Yeah.
I'm moved, y'all. Yeah, Suzette want all the tea. You know what, Chicago? Grandma, let me say, Suzette, you didn't tell me I was coming to church. Now I gotta go find my slip. You know what? I love my chat. Y'all so funny.
Oh man.
What they talk about? What does putting the Mac on her? You know what? That's a Lion Tamer.
He know.
I seen that.
He know.
Harpo, I seen that. Don't be playing.
He know.
So this is my thing now, Roy.
Yes.
So the question came up. Did she distance herself from you when you told her the first time when you told her? Did she stop coming by, stop bringing you the pie, stop bringing you the prayer basket?
Yeah, the friendship, there was a change in the friendship. There was you could feel now that there was a distance in the friendship, because it's like,
was like, that's old Satan trying to get with me.
Yeah. So it's like, yo, this dude he knows I'm engaged to be married, yet he's telling me that God has said that I'm your, that makes sense. That don't work.
Thank you, Spunks. Thank you, Spunks.
Yeah.
So go further. Did she tell her fiance?
Now, here's where, as I said, after that Bible study that night, that's when God started to do whatever He was doing. And I said, we didn't communicate outside. There was no phone calls or anything of that. So after I told her there was no phone calls or hanging out or anything of that sort, there was a distance there that was created after me saying what I said to her. And next thing you know, out of the blue, she gets a phone call. I find this out later on. And this is part of the story I find out later, when God started doing what He was doing after she got a call from her fiance, and he told her he got married to somebody else.
Oh hell no! I need some. This is why I need a soundboard. Whoa!
Yeah.
So the man was at New York playing games. I knew something was up. You don't have your bona fide fiance in a whole nother city while you camping in New York. That didn't make no sense to me without any end game anyway or
Yep.
plan for how we were going to come together and when. Nobody
Yep.
don't do that. Nobody don't move like that with a woman that you
Yep.
choosing to be your wife.
Hmm.
Nobody don't move. So I knew something was up. So he was up there frolicking and going on and having a good old time on her and just
Yep.
call her up with ladies. Drop
Yep.
a comment. You know this is not unheard of.
Yep.
Engaged to one woman and then
Yep.
suddenly pick up the phone
Yep.
and tell her, I'm getting married. That happened to my cousin.
Yeah.
We were shocked. I'm talking
Yeah.
about shocked.
Yeah.
Go upon trip, take her all over, do other things. And he had another lady doing the same thing with, and ended
Hmm.
up very abruptly, hi, I'm engaged to be married, and cut her off.
Yeah.
So I can't even imagine. Okay.
Yeah.
So was she being faithful that whole time?
Yes. My wife was a virgin.
Stop. Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
Okay.
my wife,
Oh, okay.
she's my wife was ride or die. So,
Mm.
um, you know,
So okay. So I'm heartbroken for her in this moment because at
yes.
first I was like, oh, is she out here playing games? Clearly she wasn't,
Yeah.
but he was.
Yeah. So
So she get
I,
a call, broke up with
you
him.
get the
Well,
call.
excuse me, he broke up the engagement with her. Said he
Yes.
was getting married, her
Yeah.
fiance, and then what happens? Oh my.
I didn't know. So again, when she got the call and everything happened, this is nothing that I know. I don't know this. She's not communicating this to me. I don't know this. Um, so I it's unbeknownst to me. We are fast forward. We're at a service at church. A prophet was came in. He was in town and he came and spoke to the church. Prophet Kervin Smith, and he came into the church and he saw my wife and called her up or told her to stand up. And he said to her, God has closed one door in your life and he's opened another. Walk through it.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. If y'all can see hey, not the one door closes, another door open. I hope this
Yes.
gives somebody some hope in here. Not the one
Yeah.
fiance run off with the next gal.
Yeah.
To how long between the breakup did she tell you? You said she didn't tell you right away.
I would probably say she probably didn't say anything. I'm thinking that was probably about 6 months. It's about six to 8 months because it was probably a January. And that prophet came to the church in, I know it was like that summer. So January when I told her about what God said to me, and then there was the distance. There was nothing going on. Didn't say anything. We just continued on. We were friends, but there was a distance in the friendship. Going to Bible study, this, that, whatever. Just still living our Christian lives, living our lives as young people. And that at some point, I don't know what point in between where she got the word, um, that um, this prophet says to her, God has closed one door and
Wow.
he's opened another. Walk through it. So I'm
Wow.
sitting
So
here
so
like,
so you
I,
was still in your rejection. You didn't know none of this
I
had
knew
taken place.
nothing. I knew nothing.
Wow.
So
Wow.
now,
But can I just pause you? And I know some
sure,
people don't like when we interrupt, but I'm gonna have to interrupt because this is a beautiful thing in that I am hearing. And I think sometimes people think love stories have to be like picturesque and perfect, like how they told you grandmas and grandpas were, but they weren't, that part. And that life is very messy. Like we don't try to make our lives messy,
mhm,
but life can be very messy.
yeah,
So, and then God can still be working in that mess. Oh gosh, are y'all mad? Y'all don't believe it? Drop a comment. Because I think sometimes if he doesn't ride up on the white horse and have the perfect, come on, ladies, resume, she don't have the perfect whatever. You may believe that can't be God because it didn't fit in your box of what we understand or have this, I don't know, media induced belief that God does. But I'm always reminded that God uses imperfect people all the time. He did it from Bible days. The same people we would cuss right now and call them all kinds of names. And he was using them to build his kingdom just as he would use who we think is worthy. So I just want to point out how, stories sometimes we would say that's not God. But I would just pose the question, is it not? Because he does things in the most unusual ways using imperfect people, imperfect circumstances to work his will. Drop a comment if you don't agree or if you agree. But it's amazing to me. Like, again, people like that he picks up the pieces, y'all, is what I'm trying to say. We all want the perfect fairy tale, but that's not how life is.
Yeah.
It's just not how life is. And it's hard to accept sometimes. And we want to question that, but it's just not. Well, I just wanted to say that because I'm just hearing in my spirit, like, oh my gosh, this can't be God. Oh, is that God? It wasn't this, it wasn't that. He got left. That's life. That's God.
Suzette, I'm glad you said that because this is one of the things as I've been walking with God. God is not. God does not. He's not. I can't even say that. God is not a God of chaos, but he works. He can work in the midst of chaos.
That's it.
And he's not a God of chaos, but he works in the midst of chaos. Sometimes the very things that you don't think is God, can sometimes even author chaos, because he has to author the chaos because there's no other way of getting to us. We're just not. There's just no. We're in such a place of comfort or in our own space and the way we're living that it's like he has to disturb our space to get our attention.
I was reading my comments. I could not agree with you more. Sometimes he got to stir the pot, so we turn to him.
Yeah.
Oh boy,
Yeah.
y'all mad. And I don't want to be. Sometimes people don't move because they don't want God to get involved because they're like, I've messed it up so much. He could never do anything with this, but that's a lie.
Yeah.
He can use just the same as you, just the same as me, as broken, as messy, and as we've turned things. We have a legal term sometimes when an attorney will call me with a referral and I will ask them about the case, and the first thing they'll say is like, this woman, she has complicated her life. You know what that's a nice way of saying? It's gonna be darn messy soon. You're gonna deal with a lot of crap that she caused, and you're gonna straighten it out, right? She complicated her life. That's a nice PC way of saying, damn, you could have done better, but you didn't. You didn't know how. Yeah. Right? So I think there's so much there. So tell me what happened next. So she gets the word. The prophet comes, speak a word over her.
Speak a word, yes.
Ooh, so and then what happens next?
Mm-hmm. So now that he speaks a word, she now comes to me and says to me, ask me again, what did God show me? And what did he say to me? And I then start sharing the word with her. And she's like, okay. And she listens. And then she says, she comes to me and tells me, okay, thinking that maybe what God said to you is true. Because now of what happened, she's found out that, this guy has gotten married. So she prays now. She doesn't say anything to anybody. Again, she says nothing to nobody. She comes to me and just doesn't say a word to anybody and prays. And she goes back and prays and says, God, okay, if this is you, speak to my mom and let her know. Because that was her heart was broken. And the only person that she could trust at the time was her mother. And she said, speak to my mom and let me know if this is for me. And keep in mind now, mom knows nothing. Pops knows nothing. Her brothers know nothing. Nobody knows any. Our peer group didn't know anything. And lo and behold, her mom was at home. And I don't know, she was in the kitchen. She said she was in the kitchen and she was doing something, and God spoke to her. And my wife came home from school or wherever she was doing, and she said to her, baby, God spoke to me and said to me, told me about Kevin. My name is Kevin. You can call me Kevin Links, whatever. But she said, spoke to me about Kevin, and Kevin is your husband. And she, at that point, she was like, okay, that's okay. If this is the case, let's do this. And that's when we had a conversation. We sat down and had a long conversation, and we were like, okay, let's do this. And keep in mind, my wife was she was still hesitant. Her heart was broken, but she was trusting God. This is like, okay, God, if you're saying if this is for me, then let's do this. And we had a conversation, and we decided, okay, we're going to start dating. And again, we started dating, but we kept it under wraps. We didn't say anything to anybody. Even our peer group didn't know anything at the time. And that then began, God started to then, started speaking to people and confirming, the relationship. Um, it got to the point, I think we dated for about a year, and we dated for about a year, a little over a year, and I decided, okay, this is the girl I wanted to marry. I asked her father, for her hand in marriage, got her a ring, and we spoke to my best friend at the time. Started having conversation with my best friend, and then me and my best friend at watch night service at church. Both of us in front of a full church. There's probably about, I don't know, maybe 1,000 people in church. We both proposed to our then fiancés, now wives, in front of the whole church.
Wow. I'm